All right, welcome back to Urban Odyssey Video, the deep dive where we chase the shadows of truth. I'm Alex, and I'm Jordan. Look, tonight, we're cracking open a file that's been buried for decades. We're going straight to the source, the book Cult and Ritual Abuse. And let me tell you, this thing documents some of the most unsettling accounts you can imagine.
Yeah, and it all kicks off with this one line. It's a note scrawled in a patient's journal. A desperate, almost childlike plea. And Alex, this one sentence, it's a key that unlocks a door to a world the establishment swears up and down isn't real.
And that's exactly what we do here. We don't just swallow the official story, we go to the source. We dig into the data, the testimonies, the stuff they tried to bury, and we're gonna lay it all out for you.
So, tonight's mission, we're following the breadcrumbs. It starts with one single fractured mind. Then it spreads to a pattern of cases that are just way too similar to be a coincidence. And from there, we go deep. We're talking centuries back to what the authors claim is the blueprint for all of this.
Right, and hey, if you want to see the documents, as we go, we're dropping live threads over on X. Find us at @officialurbanus. Okay, let's get into it. So our story starts with a patient file. The name they use is Sharon, and her case, the things documented by her therapist were so extreme, so bizarre, they just didn't fit any normal diagnosis.
Okay, so on paper, the diagnosis was borderline personality disorder. But that doesn't really cover it. Look at the symptoms. She's disassociating, using different names. She has this overwhelming urge to hurt herself, but gets ecstasy from it. And then, get this, a totally new personality, Susan, pops up just to deny the abuse that Sharon was starting to remember. Come on, that's a massive red flag.
And this is where it gets really dark. This quote is from a therapy session. The author describes her literally cutting her own arm and moaning about how good it feels. Alex, this wasn't just self-harm. The way it's described, it's like a ritual. And that right there became a critical piece of the puzzle. And this is where it stops being about one person and just blows wide open. Therapists started talking to each other, and they realized Sharon wasn't alone, not even close. All across the country, other clinicians were seeing patients with the exact same deeply strange symptoms and stories.
So how widespread are we talking? Well, get this. The source cites a national survey from '91 of clinical psychologists. A full 30% said they'd seen at least one patient making claims of ritualistic abuse. Suddenly, this isn't some fringe one-off thing. This is a pattern.
And check out this chart. This is the crucial part. We're talking about the professionals on the front lines, the ones who actually saw these patients. Of those psychologists, a staggering 93% believed them. They believed the harm their patients were describing actually happened. They thought the stories were credible.
Right, the patterns were so consistent, so specific, that the authors of this book said, hey, we need a whole new diagnosis for this. They proposed calling it Cult and Ritual Trauma Disorder. They basically argued that the combination of ceremonial abuse, these flashbacks, and this programmed dissociation, it didn't fit anywhere else. It was its own unique nightmare.
Okay, so you've got hundreds of clinicians, thousands of patients all reporting this stuff. Why wasn't this a massive public health crisis? Where was the alarm?
Well, that's where the pushback comes in. This is where the book dives into the powerful counter-narrative, the one that was designed to just shut this whole conversation down, for good.
And the main weapon they used was this idea of false memory syndrome. The official story became that these patients weren't actually remembering anything. Nope. It was all the fault of bad therapists who were basically implanting these crazy stories into their heads.
But the authors just call that out as absurd. And they ask a really smart question. Think about it. If a therapist is so powerful they can convince you of something that horrific, why wouldn't they just use that same power to, convince you that you're healthy? It makes no sense.
So that's the divide, right? You have the mainstream story, the whole satanic panic thing was just mass hysteria, bad therapy, nothing to see here. Then you have what this source claims, that it was a deliberate, coordinated effort to discredit survivors, what they call a discourse of disbelief. So, who's telling the truth?
And this is where we really go down the rabbit hole, because the authors argue that the details in these modern stories, they're not random. They claim all these rituals are following a very old, very specific blueprint, one with deep, historical, even esoteric roots.
Yeah, they trace this hidden lineage of ideas. It starts with ancient Gnostic sects who literally believed good was evil and evil was good. It runs through secret societies like the Bavarian Illuminati, all the way to modern occult groups like the OTO, which, by the way, set up shop in North America just a few decades before all these stories started breaking into the open.
Okay, so let's break down this supposed blueprint. From Gnosticism, you get the moral inversion, everything's backwards. From ancient shamanism, you get the method, using intense trauma to basically shatter someone's personality so you can rebuild it. And from secret societies, you get the structure, control through secrecy and ritual.
So the book basically lays it out for you. Are all these similarities between ancient rituals and what modern survivors are describing, is that just a big coincidence? Or are we looking at a blueprint for trauma-based mind control that's been passed down and maybe even perfected over centuries?
Which brings us right back to now. If even a fraction of this is real, why isn't the system doing anything? Well, the book spends a lot of time on exactly that, what it calls a total systemic failure, or maybe even deliberate obstruction.
Just look at this data. This is from just one survey of survivors mentioned in the book. The things being reported they're just off the charts. Forced group sex, being drugged, cannibalism, even human sacrifice. This isn't just about abuse, Jordan. These are allegations of organized, methodical atrocities.
And yet, the book is filled with examples of the system getting in the way. It talks about journalists who refuse to report on actual convictions. It talks about a case in Gilmer, Texas, where key police files just vanished, poof, gone. It even mentions caseworkers who were handed evidence and just dismissed it out of hand.
Right, and the authors argue this obstruction is all there to protect the core technique. It's a three-step process. Step 1, use horrific trauma to shatter a person's mind and create alters. Step 2, program those hidden alters with triggers, words, images, whatever. Step 3, use those triggers to make them do things while the main personality has no memory of it. It's the perfect crime, really. Okay, so let's just run through the bombshells from this text real quick. First, there's a hidden epidemic being reported by victims and clinicians. Second, the whole mass hysteria story, it might just be a deliberate cover-up. Third, what's happening today seems to mirror ancient Gnostic and secret society practices. And finally, the systems we trust to protect us, legal, medical, media, they're either failing or they're part of the problem.
Look, we've barely scratched the surface here. There is so much more in the source material. For the full, deep dive, all the citations, the full analysis, you gotta subscribe to our Substack. It's theofficialurban.substack.com. Yeah, this is heavy stuff. It really forces you to ask some tough questions about what's possible. We really want to know what you think. Jump on X, use the hashtag UrbanOdysseyTruth, and hit us up at OfficialUrbanists.
And that leaves us with the one big final question that this whole thing raises. If any of this evidence, if even a small part of it is true, then what else is hiding just under the surface of the world we think we know?